Hi, my name is Ricaphene, and I wanted to know how would one raise their credit score. Currently, my credit score is around 725, and I wanted to know what was the best options to increasing it to past 750 and maybe to the 800s. Thank you.
Hey, Ricaphene, thank you for the question. First, congratulations on already a strong credit score. I tend to automatically, when anybody talks about credit, I always like to immediately say, don't focus on your credit score. It's not the credit score that matters, it's the behavior. And I know that can be a little unfair. I'm under the same principles of Dave Ramsey, in which I don't want people to focus on credit because credit's just a tool. And typically, in order to have good credit and to get great credit, you have to use the credit, make the bank your best friend and borrow money. And so as long as your behaviors are responsible behaviors, I'm happy to answer this question, but I just wanted to preface it with that. So here are a couple sort of tips, tricks, helpful information to help raise your credit score, especially since your credit score sounds like it's in a great place. The first thing I would recommend is probably to make payments off cycle. So what I mean by that is if you make payments during the month, actually better way to put this. What I do with my credit cards, because I don't carry a balance, but I also want to rack up the points. What I do is say I have a credit card that has $5,000 on it and I make, grocery purchases throughout the month. I buy my medicines. I pay for, you name it. I just pay for a bunch of stuff during the month on that credit card. No particular pattern, anything like that. So at a certain point in time during that credit cycle, before your billing cycle, the bank that owns your credit will send a report off to or a balance number off to the credit bureaus. And so they'll always have sort of an update on a specific date about how much you owe and what your total credit limit is. And that forms the basis for your credit utilization number, which is again, how much you owe divided by how much you have available to borrow in the first place. So in order to make sure that whenever that number is reported to your credit bureau, that whatever they get is the lowest it possibly could be, the top of the numerator is the lowest that it possibly could be, making payments frequently during the month. So I buy groceries on, say, Monday of the week. I see it hit my credit card statement on my online portal by Thursday. And so maybe on Friday, I'll go ahead and make a payment. Now, if you're using that card all the time, obviously it's not about waiting when one particular purchase hits. But if you know in a given week you spent $500, okay, at the end of the week or early next week, make a $500 payment and keep doing things like that during the month. Almost treat your credit card as if it was a debit card. So by making frequent payments on your credit card, that keeps the numerator lower while keeping the credit limit or the denominator the same. And that creates a smaller credit utilization number. So the point is, do whatever you can to keep the numerator low, meaning make several payments during the month, no matter when your bill is due. That means you have a better chance of the amount of money owed on the credit card being reported to the credit bureau as a lower number. While the credit limit stays the same, that means your credit utilization score goes down, which usually yields a higher credit score. Another option is increasing your credit limit. Now we just talked about the numerator becoming smaller, but sometimes making the denominator bigger is also helpful. Now I go back to my caveat before, it requires having smart and shrewd behaviors financially, because if you're going to increase the amount of credit that you can borrow, that means you want to make sure that you're not actually borrowing that money. You're only using this as a tool to increase your credit score, not to go out and buy more stuff or to make bigger purchases than you otherwise could afford. So what you can do is some people, they go out and get more credit cards. That is one way of increasing your total amount of credit available, your credit limit. But what happens is a credit card company, in order to decide whether or not you're a good risk to take and give you credit, they've got to pull your credit, and that results in a hard inquiry on your credit report, which isn't permanent, but it is a temporary reduction in your credit score. Now, if that's the only option that you have, you can take it because it'll fall off your credit score. Eventually, you're just going to take a ding momentarily. The other way, and an easier and quicker way to do this, is to call the bank that you have the credit card with now and just ask them, hey, I'm looking to increase my credit line. Some places like American Express, I know you can do this without even calling or talking to an agent. You can just go into your online portfolio or online portal, and there's an area which it says, request credit limit increase, and you can just do it that way. But that's the easiest way to do it. It doesn't require a hard inquiry. It only requires a soft pull. I believe if they do one at all, I believe they do a soft pull on your credit history, which means that they will not make a ding on your credit report or your credit score. And you already have an existing relationship with the bank, so they know sort of how much that they might want to be willing to give you. It's based in their algorithms already. It's just a quick way to increase that denominator faster. And going back to that original example, if I had $500 and that's what I have borrowed, and my credit limit is 1,000, I have a 50% utilization score. Now, if I just increase the denominator without reducing the numerator, I still owe $500, but now I owe but now I have a credit limit of $2,000. So automatically that credit utilization score goes down. You have a smaller percentage of the amount that you owe based on the credit limit that you have outstanding. So those are two ways working with the same equation to get yourself a little bit more of an increased score on your credit report. Here are a couple other tips. If you have any credit card balance whatsoever, pay it off. That's a good way. If you can just eliminate what you owe on all your credit cards, that's a good way that affects the credit utilization score. But having a paid on time trend line and having paid off history, that's an excellent way to get your credit score up. If you have any mistakes on your credit report, disputing those things, that's a great way, once resolved, to help increase your credit score. If you have things on your credit report that are true factual events that just have been on your credit report, it's going to take a while for those things to fall off, say if you had any late payments. And when those things do fall off, it'll wipe the slate clean for you, and it'll automatically lift your credit score as well. So those are things you can't really do anything about now, but will eventually help shape up your credit score as well. Another thing you can do is ask a friend or family member that has great credit history and responsible financial behaviors to add you as an authorized user on a credit card that they have. Here's the thing. They don't even have to give you the credit card number. They don't have to send you the credit card. They don't have to let you even use their credit card, but just you being an authorized user on their account while they exhibit good behavior is a way for you to increase your credit score over time as well. The reason that this works, even though you don't have the card, is that having your name as an authorized user on somebody else's credit card with good behavior increases the amount of information that the credit card company has in your file, giving them more history to work off of. In addition to that, it goes back to the first couple things I've been saying, which was it lowers your credit utilization because it's going to increase your overall credit limits relative to your overall credit balance. The next and final tip is about diversifying your different credit structures. So most people typically have a credit card. Not everybody has a student loan or a mortgage or a personal loan or anything like that. And not everybody should. But the point is, if you diversify the different sources of credit, it sort of boosts your credit worthiness. Now, this goes back to how I opened up this response, in that I'm not a fan of just getting credit for the purpose of driving up a credit score. The problem is that credit bureaus are, in order to gather this information and intelligence on you, they encourage you to have more credit, encourage you to have more sources of credit so that they can derive your score in the first place. But the thing is, the more credit that you have, the more likely you are to incur debt by using that credit. And so you might end up in a negative cycle by just trying to chase your score to higher highs. And I don't think that's the best way to go about it. I don't recommend trying to have the highest score. I think having a score of 720, 750 and higher is a fine, perfect, satisfactory place to just stop the race. But if you are looking to get the score up a little higher, just for your own peace of mind, or it's not putting you in the category of, say, a mortgage rate that you're trying to get, or whatever it might be, you can take out other different sources of credit. Might be a personal loan that you don't have to use and could just, keep the loan on for a month or two and then pay it back. I don't know what you do with it. Having the mortgage, that's another way. But if you're not ready to buy a house, don't buy a house. So other sources of credit will help boost your credit worthiness other than just having all credit cards or all this type of loan. So that's another way, but be very careful about how you do that. But great question about the credit score. Just another disclaimer, don't chase credit in order to drive your credit score. Just have responsible credit habits, responsible credit and financial habits, and that will eventually get your score to where you want it. But don't let credit score make you make unwise decisions just to get the score higher. Thank you for the question.